Hello, readers. Welcome to reading class with me, Miss Taylor. I'm glad you're here. Alrighty, so we are ready to read. Let's check. Do we have our textbook? I've got my textbook here. Do we have a bookmark or a finger to follow along? We'll need our workbook and a pencil. Remember to track with your finger. Remember to read each word carefully and pay attention to end marks. Our goals are to read with accuracy and expression, to understand what's happening in the story, and make connections to characters' feelings. And of course, we want to enjoy the story. All right, we know that reading is thinking. There are so many things happening as we are reading, and we just want to really be aware of that, how our brains are always making connections and making pictures in our minds. That's called visualizing. Asking questions, summarizing, kind of thinking about what is most important and what is worth remembering. We're predicting, we are inferring, we're figuring things out, and we're synthesizing. We're kind of generating new thoughts and new ideas and allowing our thinking to change and grow. So before we start with our story for today, we have a new vocabulary sentence. If you would like to follow along, it is in the back of your textbook on page 367. And this is sentence number 23. It says, the veterinarian gave the dogs a thorough examination. Would you please read that sentence? Nice job. All right, so a veterinarian is an animal doctor. So if we say a veterinarian, we're talking about a doctor who takes care of animals. Let's see, something is thorough if it doesn't overlook anything. In other words, if you do a very thorough job on your homework, you complete everything and you do it carefully and thoroughly. That means if you do something thoroughly, it means you do it completely. You don't miss anything, you don't overlook anything. So if you do a thorough cleaning job of your room, it means you've cleaned up your whole room and you haven't missed anything or overlooked anything. All right, and an examination is a checkup. If a doctor gives you a checkup, the doctor gives you an examination. So what's another way of saying his teeth need a checkup? Yeah, his teeth need an examination. So when you go to the dentist and they look at your teeth and you have an examination. All right. So our sentence again, the veterinarian gave the dogs a thorough examination. All right. Nice work, students. Now let's take a look at our word lists, and we are on page 100 in our textbooks for today. So we have 5 word lists for today, so we better get started. All right, so let's take a look at column 1. So please get your fingers ready, follow along. We're on page 100. Word 1 is reins. What word? All right, reins are the straps that are attached to horses. The rider holds the other end of the reins and uses them to steer the horse. So everyone, what do we call the straps that are used to steer horses? Yeah, reins. Word 2 is butch. What word? Yeah, butch. And we can tell that butch is a name because it has a capital letter. Ooh, what kind of a noun is that if it has a proper... Oh, I said that. I said the answer. I was going to say, what kind of a noun is it if it has a capital letter and it's someone's name? Proper. Yeah. Did you guess it even before I gave it away? Yeah. All right. Word 3 is gee. What word? Yeah, that word is gee. Now that's kind of a strange word. We're going to find out what that word means. All right, word 4 is purpose. What word? Yeah, if you do something on purpose, you do something the way you planned to do it. So if you planned to do something, you can say, oh, I did that on purpose. That was my choice. All right, let's try those again the fast way. Reins, butch, gee, purpose. Nice job. And column 2, let's see. Word 1 is harnessed. What word? Yeah, when a sled dog team is attached to a sled, the team is harnessed to the sled. All right, word 2 is referring. And I'll just have you say referring. Toughness. Yapping. Commands. Nice job. All right, let's go to column 3. Word 1 is Uncle Chad. What word? Uncle Chad. Word 2 is parka. What word? Yeah, and a parka is a warm winter jacket, usually with a hood. So like a real warm jacket with a hood is a parka. All right. Word 3 is husky. What word? Husky. Nice job. And a husky is a strong sled dog that survives well in very cold weather. Ooh, and Miss Albrecht, one of our first grade teachers, has a husky dog, I think, doesn't she? Yeah, very, very furry and looks just like it really enjoys the winter. So that's a husky. Word 4 is goal. What word? Word 5 is leash. What word? And word 6 is Denali. What word? Nice job. All right. Let's go to column 4, and then column 5, we'll do these the fast way. Column 4, let's take a look at word 1. Kennel. Strain. Susie. Crisp. Nick. Honor. Nice job. And word 5, or column 5, I should say. Gnome. Alongside. Wool. Whoa. 0. Nice job. Alrighty, so let's take a look at part B in our textbook, and it's called Sled Dog Teams. So we are going to learn a little bit of information about sled dog teams, and then we'll kind of start the next part of our fiction story. So this is a little bit of information for us. So it's nonfiction. Nonfiction is information. All right, so let's read about sled dog teams. Most sled dog teams have an even number of dogs, 12, 14, or 16. In the Iditarod, a musher can't have more than 16 dogs. So the most dogs a musher, and that's like the driver, the person in charge, the leader, a musher cannot have more than 16 dogs. Can a musher have less than 16 dogs? Yes. But usually they're an even number. So 12, 14, 16. All right. And yeah, the reason they have an even number is so they can be in pairs. So you can see here, there's 2 here, 2 dogs here, 2 here, 2 here, and 2 here. So they work together in little pairs, little teams, little partners. All right, so if you look at the picture, raise your hand when you know how many are in that team. How many dogs are in that team? Did you say 10? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and is 10 an even number? Yes. All right, the first pair of dogs in the team are the lead dogs. So these 2 dogs in the very front, those are called the lead dogs. Lead dogs must be very smart, and they must be leaders, so the other dogs will follow them. All right, so those lead dogs are in the very front. So these are the lead dogs, and they're very smart dogs, and they have to be good leaders. In other words, like the other dogs will follow them and do what they do. The pair of dogs just behind the lead dogs are called swing dogs. So right here, these 2 dogs are called the swing dogs. They are the best dogs at following, and they are very fast. When the lead dogs swing to the left, the swing dogs follow closely to make sure the other dogs follow the same path. So the swing dogs, again, those are the ones right here, right behind the lead dogs are the swing dogs. And the swing dogs are fast, and they're very good at following. So they're very good at following the lead dogs. The pair of dogs closest to the sled are called wheel dogs. So the wheel dogs would be right here, the wheel dogs closest to the sled. Wheel dogs must be very strong because when the sled gets stuck, the wheel dogs are the ones who have to pull it out or turn it so it's free. So the wheel dogs, they have to be very strong because they have to pull the sled out or turn the sled if it gets stuck. So they have to be very strong. All right, so let's take a look at our picture here, and I'm going to ask you just a couple questions. So look at the picture and tell me what letter shows the lead dogs in this picture. Yeah, letter C. Those are the lead dogs. What letter shows the wheel dogs? Yeah, K. Very nice. And what letter shows the swing dogs? Yep, right here, R. Letter R. These are the swing dogs. The dogs are harnessed together with nylon straps. Each dog wears a crisscross harness. Ooh, like a crisscross, like an X. So you can see some of the harnesses in the picture. Those harnesses. All right, and you can see how the straps cross back and forth. You can kind of see how they kind of crisscross on their backs. Each harness is attached to a tug line. So the tug lines for the lead dogs are labeled in the picture. So you can see here the tug lines are right here. And these little lines right here, this one and this one, these are the tug lines. All the tug lines are connected to the gang line. That's the long line that runs down the middle of the team. The gang line is connected to the sled. If there are 16 dogs, the gang line may be over 60 feet long. That's pretty long. So 1 foot is the length of a ruler. So it could be 60 feet. In other words, like 60 rulers lined up. All right, so the gang line is also labeled on our picture. So the gang line is this long one that goes all the way here. This long one is the gang line. And then the tug lines are the short little lines that are connected from the gang line to each of the dogs. Those are called the tug lines. All right, let's find part C in our textbooks. And our title of part C is Susie and Denali. Susie and Denali. Susie and Denali. Susie put on her parka and mittens. It was warmer today, about 4 degrees below zero. Warmer? Wow, that's pretty cold. 4 degrees below zero. But maybe for Alaska in this time of year, I guess it's kind of warm. But in Minnesota, even though we have pretty cold winters, that is pretty cold, 4 degrees below zero. Yeah, it's pretty cold. Susie went outside and called, "Denali." A large Alaskan husky came running through the crisp snow, stopped in front of her, sat down, and wagged his tail. "It will happen in a little more than 2 weeks," Susie said. Denali licked his chops and looked as if he understood her. Those are like his lips, right? Susie was referring to the Iditarod. This year it would begin on March 15th. Susie's Uncle Chad was going to be a musher in this year's race. He lived less than a mile from Susie's place in Nick, Alaska. And that KN says Nick, Alaska. And Susie had been working with him for almost a year getting ready for the race. All right, so Susie's Uncle Chad is going to be a musher in the race. And everybody who helped Chad train his team. Susie, that's right. In what state did they live? Alaska. And what was the date for the beginning of the race? March 15th. So the race was a little more than 2 weeks away. So if the race was a little more than 2 weeks away, what date would it be now when the story is taking place? Well, we know 1 week is 7 days. So 2 weeks would be 14 days. So March 15th is when the race is. What's 15 minus 14? 1. So it's about March 1st. Right now, it's March 1st. What was the temperature? About 4 degrees below zero. So that is very cold. I went outside this morning and I went jogging, and we live in Minnesota and it's January, but it was 20 degrees and I was a little bit cold. 20 degrees. Here, 4 degrees below zero. Whew. Susie harnessed Denali to a practice sled. She stood next to the sled and called out, "Mush." Denali pulled hard and the sled jumped forward. Susie ran alongside the sled, then jumped on the back. Denali knew that he was going to Uncle Chad's place, and he was eager to get there. He was excited. He was eager. The snow squeaked and crunched as Denali pulled the sled along next to the road. Susie imagined that she was in the great Iditarod race. She tried to imagine what it was like with 14 or even 16 dogs in front of her as they pulled the sled through country that was so wild that there were no roads in many places, just the Iditarod Trail. Susie had heard stories about the Iditarod and the dangers mushers had to face, getting lost, being attacked by animals, and the most feared problem of all, freezing. "Whoa," she called to Denali. Uncle Chad's place was on the other side of the road. A large truck went by. The driver waved to Susie. She waved back and then called out, "Mush." Denali pulled the sled across the road. Some of Chad's dogs were looking at Denali from their kennel. 2 of them were barking. So you can kind of get a picture in your mind. You can visualize what's happening in this story. Uncle Chad came out wearing a wool shirt, gloves, and earmuffs, but no coat. Wow, no coat. I would be all bundled up. He was handsome, and for an instant, Susie wondered why he had never married. So he never got married. She also wondered how he could dress like that in cold weather. He called to her, "Susie, bring Denali round back. Today we're going to run with a loaded sled." "Can Denali be one of your wheel dogs?" "Maybe later," he smiled. She didn't. So, "Can he be one of your wheel dogs?" Maybe later." "Oh, come on," she said. "He's a good wheel dog. He knows all the commands and—" "Susie," Chad said, "I need to find out how the regular team of 14 dogs is going to do in really rough country." All right, so everybody, what is Susie's dog's name? Denali. And was he one of Chad's regular dogs? No. All right, and why didn't Chad want Denali to be one of the wheel dogs? Yeah, he needed to kind of work with his own team, his regular team, to see how they did in really rough country. In other words, like maybe a place that had all kinds of like long grass and bushes and rocks and trees and just really rough country. And where are the wheel dogs in the team? They're right in front of the sled. So these are the wheel dogs. So Susie wants Denali to be one of these wheel dogs. And Chad says, maybe another time. Right now I need to see how my regular team of 14 dogs does. Chad walked to the kennel, opened the kennel gate, and said, "Into the truck, you guys." The dogs ran around, jumped up on Chad and Susie, and then jumped in the back of Chad's truck. 3 dogs got into arguments about who would sit closest to the sled, which was already in the truck bed. They growled and snapped. So they were growling at each other and snapping. In other words, they were having an argument. Were they really arguing, like with words? No. "Stop that," Chad said, and the dogs settled down. Most of them were a lot smaller than Denali, but they were all very strong, and they were all tough. They would need that toughness when they ran the Iditarod, because then they would have to pull the sled all day long, sometimes for more than 14 hours a day. All right, second graders, I'm going to have you read the rest of the story to yourself, and then after you read the rest of the story to yourself, you are going to go back and reread the story one more time. You're going to answer some questions at the end of the story, And then you're going to complete your workbook for today and read for 20 more minutes. For today, we do have one complete sentence answer. So make sure you check. We're going to do number 21. It's our complete sentence answer for today. And I wanted to give you just a little bit of help with the with page 37 in your workbook. You can see here that I put some little labels on mine so you can see the lead dogs are in the front, and then the swing dogs, and the wheel dogs are way in the back, and then there's the musher, and he's way in the back there too. So let's see. And do you remember how many dogs can be on a sled dog team? 16 is the most. You can have less than that, but you can have more than that. And usually they're an even number. All right, have a great rest of your day, second graders, and I will see you again soon. Bye.